Hello and welcome to Connect. I'm Randy Chavallo and we want to welcome you here to City Hall. We're going to be interviewing Leslie Prefontaine and Rita Field, dealing with some innovative and new ways to help keep our community safe. As always, we want to hear from you at Connect. Tweet us at Shaw TV Connect, visit our Facebook page, email shawtvconnect@shaw.ca, or give us a call at 306-665-3796. Now here's what we're connecting to today. The Saskatoon Police Service is rolling out a Police and Crisis Team, or PACT, to help deal with the problems related to mental health and addictions among the people they encounter every day. Rita Field from Saskatoon Crisis Intervention Service is here to tell us about it. But first, Community Support Officer Leslie Prefontaine is here to talk about their 2-year pilot project that was recently expanded to December of 2015 and is designed to improve safety by enforcing bylaws, but also assisting people in need first. Welcome back. We're here with Connect and interviewing Leslie Prefontaine. She's the supervisor for the new Community Support Officer program. The program actually got its origins from about 2010, and boots on the street, the uniforms that you see in downtown and Riversdale and Broadway, actually went out July 9th in 2012, so they're having their second anniversary coming right up. Leslie, thank you for joining us today. We thought we'd get you here and have you explain a little bit about what you're seeing on the streets in downtown Saskatoon and more about the program.
Thank you for having me, Randy. I think when we started off in July 9th, 2012, we didn't really know what to expect or what we were going to see out there. I remember my first day very clearly, which direction was I going to travel and where was I headed. So it was an interesting feel back then and being in the uniform, and much more comfortable now today out there, and a lot easier and more efficient at the things that we're dealing with. So we've come a long way since then. What are we seeing on the streets? I guess we're seeing a little bit from all angles and all perspectives. So we see and work with all three different segments of the population. So we deal directly with the businesses, we deal with the general public, and then we also deal with those vulnerable people or those who might be in need of assistance and support them as best we can.
So when we talk about street safety for everyone, I guess that's an important point to touch on. It's not just dealing with the business owners and some of the businesses in these three bid areas, but we're also looking at what about tourists and what about those people that need those services. We have a lot of immigrants coming to the city, some people that are new that just don't know about agencies that can help. How do you get them in touch with someone who might need help?
A lot of the work that we do kind of involves getting people connected to the right services.
You're on the right show to do that, you know that.
Yeah. Right. Linking them up to the things, I guess, that they may be missing or maybe in need of, and tapping them into that. So we do that very directly sometimes, where we'll actually call people to scene to assist us. People like mobile crisis, police service, sometimes we need medical assistance, things like that. Or we'll actually refer them off or walk them to certain agencies. We can do a walk down to the lighthouse for someone who's intoxicated. We can do any number of those kinds of things as well to get someone to a safe place for the night. We'll also use different services in our city to facilitate that, such as transit services, in linking them with a safe ride over to where they need to be. And then we also, again, when touching on the general public and things like that, sometimes it's as simple as helping someone who's in town and looking for a good place to eat, or maybe lost and need to know where a certain building is within one of the three bids, and guiding them and giving them direction to those things.
What about people who are in medical distress and so on? I mean, you patrol a monstrous area in terms of the number of square blocks. What types of things do you see when you're out on patrol, and what types of calls do you get called to?
We get a variety of calls, and I think the biggest thing that we like to say again is talking about safe streets for everyone. Oftentimes we are involved with those vulnerable people though, and we are seeing things like public intoxication calls, disturbance calls, or causing issues for a business, right in the business, or maybe even have moved on out into the public space, and we still want to come out and help those individuals out. So our general approach is just to, I guess, be as comfortable as we can for somebody to open up and talk to us and share and get to the root of what's really happening. Sometimes when we see things on the outside, we don't really know what's actually happening for that person. So getting to the bottom of things, and then helping them out as best we can to get to the proper services, if they do need medical attention, all those kinds of things.
Can you give us an example of someone that you may have encountered on the street and maybe followed that file through to success for that person? Is there something that you can shed some light on for us to give us an example of what you do?
I think we have a few varieties of success. There's sort of the simple, small steps to success, which really, overall in the big picture, are bigger things, larger picture things. For instance, a panhandler who was commonly found in front of banks, and the bylaw clearly states can't panhandle within 10 meters of that bank or an ATM. So moving them along, and it took a lot of steps to move them along, and some warnings and those types of things, but we've yet to sort of see that individual. So to me, that was a success for them and for us, as well as the businesses and the general public that we're experiencing that activity. So there's one example of sort of a smaller success that may not. And then another example of sort of a larger one would be a gentleman that we met way back in August of 2012, so pretty much when we first started. And over that period of time that we've known him, he started off as a person who was causing disturbances for businesses, so we got calls from them, as well as the general public, and then from police service as well. They would dispatch us to calls. Often they were public intoxication calls, aggressive behavior, those types of things.
The police can dispatch you if they're called by the general public?
That's correct,
okay.
Yeah. Or businesses as well. And we'll follow up with the caller if we do get that name and contact and it's required.
I think it's important to note that this program was a hybrid program that was built specifically for Saskatoon. When you talked about that first day on the job to where we're at today, that familiarity, that you get to know a number of the people on the street, a number of the business owners and people walking to work, cycling to work. Mm-hmm. Do they recognize you, or is a uniform an inhibitor, or does it attract some attention? What about the uniform itself?
We've noted and been observant of that for sure, but by and large and most days we really don't run into anybody anymore who sort of questions the uniform itself. We will get inquiries as to who we are and what do we do. They'll look at the flash and start a conversation, and we'll often tell them sort of how we are a hybrid program, just kind of involving that, the outreach component and combining that with the bylaw enforcement piece as well. So I don't think that there's confusion between us and police service, and certainly those individuals who are vulnerable, and I think that's where some of the concern comes in, is uniforms for them are often a trigger or a sore spot or contentions for them. So for them it's very well known, and they understand who we are, and we get the handshakes and the smiles and the hellos, and they often are the ones coming to us.
And it's a relationship that you start to form on the street, so that as you get to know some of the familiar faces, that a lot of the business owners get to know those same familiar faces. It sounds to me like you're getting more in-depth knowledge of the person on the street, as well as the concerns from the business community as well. What happens when you have someone who you may come across laying on the side of the boulevard or on the grass or the park or something, where the general public may call and say, I just don't know about this person. There's obviously no, he's still breathing or maybe just not quite coherent. Can they call you and then you can make an assessment and help them out from there?
Yeah, that's exactly how we would do that. So we would come in, and we do have training in first aid and CPR. So just doing that vital check and make sure that they are in fact still breathing and that's okay and their vitals are all right. Then we'll move along and do sort of that secondary check and get them alert and awake if possible. So from that point, not everyone is. Can we get them up and moving and alert to our presence? So we will, at that point, we would call emergency services in to deal with that issue immediately. And then we'll work alongside of them and in collaboration to, I guess, find the best place for that person. And if it, it could be ambulance or an ambulance ride to the hospital. It could be then us, having that conversation about how did they end up in this place, and can we help them along to get home or to get to a bed somewhere that's safe for them in a shelter.
So
or
if there is no home,
beds.
then you can step in with homelessness initiatives or things like that.
Yep, that's right. We would connect them then to our services that have programs with shelters.
So what happens, for instance, if you're out and about and, I understand your response time is a little over 5 minutes. It's still a large area, but it's still kind of constricted. Are you seeing success with respect to the people that have called and the people that need your service?
I think yes, with both, for sure. And I think when it comes down to it, a lot of the businesses who do access our services are calling us as much as they need us. So sometimes that's quite frequent, and eventually it decreases with time too. If we're doing our jobs, that call becomes more infrequent, and we carry on that connection and that network with those businesses. And then with the individuals, same thing. I mean, our intent again is to have those successes and to see somebody. And the gentleman that I was talking about earlier that we used to get the calls to, the aggressive behavior and stuff, has certainly dwindled, and now we're seeing him. He successfully has custody of his daughter. He is no longer using substances, and he's also looking at getting his license and things like that. So he's housed. He's very stable right now, which when we first started he wasn't. So, we're seeing increasingly more and more of those stories all the time.
And this is a unique situation whereby we commonly hear that police aren't social workers, but now we have a unique situation where we hire somewhat social workers or some people with social work backgrounds with a bylaw enforcement tool added to that belt. That has to be successful in a way as that first mode of interaction with those on the street.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the human services background that our staff do have it pertains and helps to us to better assist someone who is in need. And like I said, it's about getting to those root causes, because a lot of times, that person laying on the bench, they could just be suntanning, and we've had those calls where we go and wake them up. But then there are those who we do wake up and they are down and out. We've met many first-time panhandlers on our street. What brings you out here? And sometimes it's, I can't make ends meet. Yesterday, the good example was they were $2 short from their prescription. So we attended the call, got them on their way, and they were fairly aggressive in their panhandling, but you can see the stress also in having medical needs and not being able to meet those. So
I think it's a wonderful program that is kind of bridging the needs for a whole segment of the downtown and Broadway and Riversdale. The funding was extended through to December of 2015, and hopefully we'll find some way to carry that funding through and keep helping people in Saskatoon in our own unique ways. I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to help us and help educate Saskatoon and how we can reach out for everyone that is vulnerable, the business community, and our safer streets for everyone. We'll come right back after this break.